There once was a creator of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition third-party content. Or I should say, there once was a creator of some of the best, if not the best, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition content. And now, they've gone and done it again. Here's the Warlock Grimoire Volume 2. Hi there, fellow Dungeons & Dragons players and Dungeon Masters alike. I am Mr. Trosk, your favorite go-to YouTuber when it comes down to third-party Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition content. I do review, I do previews, I do flip-throughs, and I do all kinds of previews. I already said that. I drank a lot of coffee today, so I'm talking very fast. Anyway, you're on the right channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support me, make sure to go to my Patreon page. You can support me for as little as $1 a month, and you can get great rewards in return. I am a huge fan of Kobold Press. There, I said it. I'm one of the biggest fans of Kobold Press because I think they create some of the best Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition content. I have a lot of their books right here on my shelf, and these aren't the only books I have of them. Some of them are right there on the floor because they wouldn't stand up straight because they were very thin and flappy books. And there's a lot of them in PDF form on my computer, and well, I just love them. I think they are some of the best creators. And a while back they created the Warlock Grimoire Volume 1, and I actually created a review on my channel about this because I liked it very much. This is a book, a small book, and it is one of the most beautiful books in my collection. I mean, this is the kind of books you can actually put on your shelf anywhere, and it just attracts attention. There's something about the artwork, there's something about the size of this book comparing to other things I have in my possession. It is just amazing, and I think they done it again. I think they created another one that I just want to put out there. I just want to have this on my table, on my coffee table, or on my shelf, or I don't know, on the dashboard of my car. I don't know. I just think this is a very nice cover and a very nice book just looking at it. I mean, I'm not even talking about the content because the content is pretty amazing, like the first one. And what I really like is that these are in very high contrast with each other, but in a good way. And you can actually see I actually use this one because I have a flappy thing right here where I needed to see the page. It's probably for that one spell, Candles Inside, that I like very much. But they're very big contrast, and I like this contrast. Putting them next to each other, it does something. And I can't wait for the third one to arrive at some point in the future. I don't know if they're ever going to create one, and I don't know what color. Maybe it's like going to be purple, and maybe there's going to be like a series of books with all different colors, and you can just have these books. I'm talking way too much about how awesome I think they look from the outside. Let's talk about the inside. If you do not know what the Warlock series is, then allow me to introduce you to Warlock, these series. These are a bunch of very small paperback. They're not even paperback, like these are like those workbooks you get in school when you're a child. These are like lower quality type of stuff, but you get them for free when you support them on Patreon. When you are a Kobold Press Patreon supporter for a certain pledge level, you get these sent these every month. I have a bunch of these in my possession, but I do not have all of them because they keep sending me them for free together when they send me a book. For example, when they send me a Tome of Beasts or whatever, they send a bunch of these with them. When I forget to ask, they don't send them. So I have a bunch of these, but I don't have all of them. And basically what they are is random IDs for your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game. Specifically for Midgard, the campaign setting by Kobold Press. One of the best campaign settings out there is by Kobold Press. It's called Midgard, which is just translated roughly to just Earth. These are content for Midgard, but 90% of the content you can use in your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game, and the other 10%, like 9% of that, you can use with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of fantasy, but we're playing a fantasy RPG, so it's all good. You can use this in your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game, and it's the randomness of this that really strikes me and really pulls me in. This stuff feels so completely random, and I like it. And they've put that in this. So what is this? These are the, well, I first have to talk about this one. These are the first 10 or 12. Am I lying? We're 10 or 12. Anyway, the first dozen or so Warlock booklets that came out. They just put them in one grimoire. They just put them in one book. Just random IDs. And the problem I had with this thing, I had one major problem with this. I like the outside, I like the content in here, and the writing is amazing. The artwork, which I will talk about in a minute, is so freaking awesome, but it was too random. The titles and everything in here, and like the index, they were set up in a way that you didn't even know what was going on. If you were looking, like there's a chapter called On the Hunt. Who knows what that is about? Then there is a Thick as Thieves. Is that like a subclass for thieves, or is that Thieves Guild, or Terrors of the Dragon Empire? Very cool titles, but I do not know what this is. So you just needed to sit down with this and like really read through it to know, or flip through it to know what was going on, and to check out what it was about and stuff like that. And that was my major complaint with this one. But they fixed that with this one. They actually listened to me, and probably to sorry, and probably to the entire community, because I was an advocate that I said that I didn't like that, but there were more people saying they didn't like that. But I just like to believe that they listen to me and me alone, because I'm the most awesome YouTuber in the world. They fixed that with an index, and it is all in the index. You know, it is, now they created a index that actually makes sense to me. They created an index where they have like lore and storytelling is a chapter, adventures and dungeoneering, then there's monsters, there's NPCs, there's magic, there's player options, and that's it. But you can actually know what's going on. Here there's a player option river folk, for example. There is a player option dwarven devices, firearms and airships. You absolutely know what this is about, and that is very important to me. You know what it is about. Firearms and airships. If you open it up, firearms and airships. Okay, then there is like magic, dwarves at war, there is treasure, there is magics, like 11 magic staffs of Midgard. Like they say they are the 11 magic staffs of Midgard, but you can use these staffs in your own campaign with a little bit of tweaking, of course. Monsters. Boss monsters, or abominations of the Blood Kingdom. You know, there's still some guessing in some of these titles, but there's way more. You know where to look if you're looking for a certain thing. And I like that very much. So with this book, they took the second 12, I think it's just the second year of the existence of Warlock. They took the second 10 or 12 and they put it in a new Warlock Grimoire. And this new Warlock Grimoire number 2. And what I will do is, I will just flip through it and show some of the things that I think are really, really cool. The first thing in here that I think is very interesting is called Treasure Vaults of Midgard. And before I talk about it, I really want to talk about the artwork in here. They've decided to just use the artwork they were using for the Warlock paperback booklets, and they just copy and pasted that artwork in there, and I really like that. I really like that the outside of this book is like this vibrant colored book, and the inside is like this very old school type of dungeon crawling artwork, and I am really into black and white classic Dungeons and Dragons artwork, so I really love it when you open it up that this kind of artwork is in this book. Now, the Treasure Vaults of Midgard, don't get fooled by the title, because although it says Treasure Vaults of Midgard, you can place these treasure vaults anywhere in your campaign, in your world, with a little bit of imagination, with a little bit of fantasy. So, for example, there is a Bamian Wandering Vault. And this is a vault, and it looks like, well, kind of looks like the Pentagon, but it has 1,000 legs. It has like metal legs or something, and it is moving, and it crawls around the world, or a certain area of the world, and basically it is invisible, and it can even change its appearance and stuff like that. It is an invisible thing, and you need to know that it's there in order to enter it, and entering it is pretty pretty basic. There is a bunch of checks involved, but inside this thing there are a bunch of glyphs. They call them glyphs on the ground, where you need to walk into a certain sigils. I was looking for the word sigils, and all of these sigils on the ground, they form a certain path, but some of them overlap, and you need to, as a character, figure out how to walk them in order to be good and be successful. And only if you walk these sigils, then you can get to the end actually of this vault. But there's also sort of creatures walking around in this vault, and they will target you, and only if you show them the key you can walk through, and stuff like that. And the cool thing about this is that it's not mapped. This vault is entirely theater of the mind vault, and they talk about checks you need to make. If you make a certain check, you can actually see the way you need to walk, and if you fail a check, you just walk in a different direction, because some of the sigils overlap, and you just happen to walk into another sigil, and it goes wrong, and you will never, ever enter the vault. And one of the golems, the iron golems that walk there, they will target you and probably smash you to pieces. So that's one of those things. There is another Dragon Empire vault, which has a coin drake. They just put a new monster in there called the coin drake, which is they have a stat block for it, which is a challenge rating 5 small dragon, which is built out of coins. It is a small dragon built out of coins. It's that kind of stuff. Again, it is all theater of the mind. There's just a vault that is, well, it's basically a vault that is guarded by a coin drake, and you need to kill it, and you need to defeat it or whatever to get into this vault. The cool thing about the coin drake is that it's literally made out of coins, and when it grows, it just adds new coins to it, and it adds coins of greater value to its body in order to grow as a bigger dragon. But once you kill it, it just dies, and it's just a pile of coins that is lying in front of you. So instead of then there being a dragon, they are their own dragon horde, which I think is a very cool idea. Then there is a bunch of what they call boss monsters, like for example a wicked big ass cat that can give you some kind of cat disease, which is not fun to have, I can promise you that. Then there's for example a gulper behemoth, a gulper behemoth, which is a level 9 challenge rating 9 creature. That is basically a gulper that can swallow you and do that general thing where it swallows you, and it's very, very scary. And then there's the Pumpkin King, which is literally a living pumpkin that can cast a Harvest Dance. And when it does, I'm gonna read it out loud. As an action, the Pumpkin King can summon a swirling mass of grounds and vegetables. This vortex extends into a 50-foot radius, blah, 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 does damage. So it can cast basically a tornado that has a bunch of vegetables, like there's carrots and pumpkins and onions flying around together with branches and earth in your face, and you can't see, and you take a lot of damage, and I think that's kind of original stuff. Then there is the Clockwork archon or something like that, which I am already implementing in my Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game. I'm actually making sure my players get their hands on this thing because I think it is amazing. And it is an armored transport. It is an armored transport in the form of some sort of angel type metal creature. It's completely made out of metal. It is some kind of angel with a warhammer and a shield, and it has flying speed, of course, because it has metal wings. And players can get into it. It can carry up to 6 medium or 8 small creatures in its torso. You can actually crawl in its torso, and there are a bunch of escape hatches that you can get out of, and you can use it as a transport. So you have a big metallic angel with a warhammer that can carry you in its torso to anywhere you want. And just to show you the randomness of this module, it is just a bunch of random IDs and random stuff to put in your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game. There is the 11 magical staffs of Midgard, which is a bunch of very powerful staffs. One of these staffs, for example, can cast a spider swarm. And it can cast spider climb and stuff like that. It's not super powerful, but this one is just cool because it is a spider staff. It's literally called a spider staff. There's also a staff of binding that can cast stuff like arcane lock, hold monster, hold person, lock armor, or planar binding, stuff like that. And it's all staffs. There's a staff of the necromancer, staff of the white necromancer, which can cast spells, all kinds of spells like hard stop, raise dead, revivify, shared sacrifice, all kinds of necromancy stuff. And all these staffs have a bunch of charges, and some spells take up 2 charges, and some spells take up 1 charge. And every time like the staff regains 1d6 plus 4 expended charges daily at dawn. So you get a bunch of new charges on your staff, and then you can cast a bunch of spells from your staff. And depending on the strength of that spell, you need to expend certain charges, which is a basic idea and basic thing in Dungeons & Dragons, magical staffs with charges. But having a bunch of them extra, it's always a cool thing in a random ID book by Kobold Press. To make it all even more random, there's a section I really like about Riverfolk. Riverfolk are a group of halflings that in the Midgard setting, they live anywhere near the crossroads, which is the center of the Midgard campaign setting, and they live anywhere there on boats. They live on like near the shore of like water, and they're river folk, and they're halflings, but they're very adventurous halflings. Like you can see, they're like very nimble, and they talk about how they are always looking to earn money, and they're always looking to do like smuggle people and smuggle goods across rivers, and they even get their own traits. Like, for example, they can swim very well. They cannot slip and fall on a wet deck of a boat. When they're on a wet deck of a boat, they can like advantage on dexterity saves, and slippery surfaces are not considered difficult terrain to them. So it's an entire section, and there's like they give a lot of efforts to something that looks so stupid as river folk. I mean, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages on lore alone. 5 pages just talking about who they are, where they come from, how they act. Then there's an entire page about what names they use, and then there are the traits, and there's even feats dedicated to the river folk themselves. The great thing about a book like this is that a bunch of this you will just read and be like, huh, it's funny, or that's cool, but I'm it's not my thing, not my cup of tea, it's cool, funny, okay, and then boom, you see something that strikes you and that just pulls you in. It's like, I'm gonna use this, and you put like a binder in it or whatever, you just put something in it, or remember, learn the page number out of your head, and then you go further with the book, and then, oh, wait, it's the town of Smoke, which is a new town, and there's a complete town, there's a complete map of it, by the way, and there is a complete lore and places to go within this town. Oh, wait a second, my players needed to go to a town, and I needed a town, and I was creating a town, but now I have a town because it is in here. It's that kind of stuff you need this module for just random picking it out, dropping it in your campaign. That's what it is for. You just pick stuff out of this and drop it into your campaign. And that's it. Call it a review, call it a flip through of the Warlock Grimoire number 2, which comes from these little flappy things you get for free every month when you are a Patreon supporter of Kobold Press. So they always go, but there's always like one theme to them. For example, this one is one of my favorite cities, City of Brass, which is a city run by genies. It's a genie city, and like the genie type creatures that live inside of lamps and can grant wishes. They have an entire city you can visit in this thing, and what they do is they just take this stuff and drop it into a grimoire, drop it into an entire book, and like put all sections together for new monsters, new lore, new stuff. And if you're interested in receiving these little pamphlets, booklets, thingies, ideas for your game, make sure to become a Patreon supporter of Kobold Press. And if you just want to have them all together into 1 or 2 books, make sure to pick up the Warlock Grimoire number 2, or if you don't have it yet, the Warlock Grimoire number 1. 2 of my favorite books, especially looking at the cover. I hope your inspiration may guide you.